one thing that's cool is the How to Be Happy 101 book. That doesn't exist, but probably does somewhere. How to Be Happy 101. 101 I think is like for the first chapter of like a book on something.
Well, that's
I
like
don't know what it stands for.
no, like one-on-one, or like what do you call it? Like instead of a textbook, there's like there's like, 101 is like 1.0. It's like
well, that's beginning. Confusing. Let's call it the How to Be Happy Step by Step. Has changed dramatically since like the dawn of time.
Big news.
You know? Yeah, it's like it has morphed and mutated, and you can kind of look at almost any other thing as the example of this, where it's like if you're studying a trade and you want to get into something, the textbook for that changes every few years even. Like the information has changed dramatically. Like the technology is sometimes completely different, that it's like wholly new. You're not even using the same equipment anymore. You toss it all away, put new things in the book. It's the same with any kind of metagame of a development of how people play a game, whether it's a sport, like a physical activity, or a video game, or the way people play music has completely changed from sitting around big pianos or little acoustics to synthesizers in basements that just like you press record and do a bunch of really fancy stuff. Like the entire how to do a thing step by step has morphed so much that it's unrecognizable, and this happens year by year. And How to Be Happy step by step has morphed so much from just like now to last year to the year before to the year before, where like there's those we have some go-to things that we've talked about of just Yogananda had to invent phrases in English like self-realization and etc., or like re-establish what consciousness means instead of just the Freudian version. Or even before that, it used to be just conscious and unconscious. If you were conscious, you were awake. Unconscious meant to sleep. That was it. Like we didn't have words for the things that we talk about today. Now if somebody says consciousness, it's like, wow, like this huge spread of ideas of like, oh yeah, it's your spirit, or like it's like subtle parts of your mind or something. Like there's this array of information and understanding of what these things are that you can go anywhere. And some people mention mindfulness, and that's not a word you would have heard 100 years ago. And every year it flips on its head again, where there's like a small paradigm of movies or something, or self-help books or whatever that are of like a certain kind, and then it turns into something else, and it can sometimes it's a big shift that's due to something, like when people started doing acid all over the place and had the whole 60s movement in North America and Europe or whatever. And then, or it could be like a huge part of history in like the dynasty of ancient China, where they decide to, or like, you know, the random wars between states and all that ended and became like a single empire. That could completely change the way people see the world or anything. The Roman Empire fell because all of the soldiers got tired of war, because whether it was like realizing it was dumb because they started caring more about, you know, be kind to your neighbor because Christianity spread or whatever, and they started settling down with the local girls and just having kids and being like, I don't want to be in the army. And then the Roman Empire fell. And it's not really, the Roman Empire didn't fall, it just kind of like mitigated or something like that. I'm not an expert in that, but like the way being happy and what's good and what that looks like and what people think that is has changed so much that today we have access to things like the internet and infinite online gurus everywhere, and not like random self-help people or YouTubers or gurus or whatever in that sense, but like you can go read something by Winston Churchill from like a long time ago and read something by Eckhart Tolle today. They're very much in the same line. It's just shifted. There's new words. There's new lingo. There's a new way of looking at
examples
joy
that fit the modern world and stuff.
Yeah, like the stuff that people go to today that is helpful and beneficial and actually like is good and wholesome and whatever is so different, and it has improved. The How to Be Happy step by step is no longer housewife, kids, American dream, and get lots of money, get lots of power, get lots of whatever in like those even that type of idea of like what power is has completely shifted. People understand, Eckhart Tolle again, power of now, and that's shifting into power of now. That's going to completely morph eventually. And people will be like, you can't even say now, because now is, if the thing is here, that means it is the past already, like the past accumulated to this moment. So the power is in your perception of now, or your like now can't exist. Otherwise, you're implying there's a future and past. So you kind of gotta get rid of the whole concept of the idea that there's a now at all. Like eventually, it's gonna morph and it's just gonna change. So like the happiness step by step is getting so much better that you can find different ways at all sorts of different stages of where any person is. What's gonna help them is gonna be so different. But there's so much of it out there, from like the very beginning of people who are living like little angry mobs to people who are those monks and whatever in the Himalayas. That information of how somebody would practice any kind of mindfulness thing of that end is now available to the whole world, where it used to not be. And there's this huge separation and segregation of cultures and sects and all this other stuff of just like, one group is doing this, another group is doing this, one sect is doing that, another sect is doing that, and they're all similar, but they're all kind of messed up. They're all at different degrees. Now, anybody can go anywhere to get anything they need at any level, no matter where they are. And that happiness step, how to be happy step by step, has become so vastly available and so widespread that we're pretty good. This whole world right now is pretty well off, and I don't understand how it could not get better at this point.